Okay, let's see here. I'm going to bring up Marc. Marc and I are going to walk you through our latest kind of demo app. So we wanted to create a new demo environment. Partially, we're developing so many new things, right? This compatibility matrix, telemetry, this SDK, all these things are happening, and we want to be customer zero for ourselves, right? And so what we've done is we built an application. It's an idea that, like, I think Marc and I talked about, a year and a half ago. It's just something that we thought would be really useful in the remote world. Marc, do you want to bring up the deck, or I can bring it up, maybe, whatever you want. I'll bring it up. Your audio, I'm not sure if it's working either, so maybe check. I'm not hearing you very well. All right. Okay, so we have, and I don't like to present in full screen, so I'll maximize it a little bit bigger, and I'll go. So we're introducing this new demo app that we call SlackerNews. There you are, Marc. Great to hear you now. And the goals of this demo this application is to be a completely integrated app that can be used as a reference implementation. We want it to be a real application, right? Hopefully, some folks in the community actually think this is an interesting tool and want to use it. And so we're making it fully open source, and we'll provide the GitHub URL at the end of this. And we want to become our own customers. Now, we're not like kind of fully launching it. I'll call this still a soft launch, so a little preview here. But a lot of these things are actually online. So the product is called SlackerNews. So you've heard a couple people mention this during the demos. If you go to SlackerNews.io, you'll get a little insight. There's a little graphic that kind of animates in and out. I'll kind of pop over there. But the idea is that this is an application very heavily inspired by Reddit, or kind of pretty clearly by Hacker News, but it's built for internal teams, and it is automatically populated by the links that are shared in your Slack account. So it's fully private, self-hosted, open source. But as you can see, the animation on the left, basically a link gets shared by someone on your team in a public channel, and then all of the replies and the reactions, well, those count as votes or partial votes to increase the visibility of these links that have been shared. And oftentimes, the insight was that the modern day, like, we're not sending around files anymore. We're not sending around a Word doc. We're sending around a link to a Google Doc, a link to a GitHub repo, a link to an Asana board, a link to a Jira ticket, like almost all of the artifacts that we have for the work that we're doing are links. And so, it's interesting to think about, that same user experience that you get with a Reddit or a Hacker News, that's sort of like, just being populated and sort of ranked, in a sense, based on the activity that's happening in your Slack account already, right? Like, this isn't like, something special. There is a little chance to upvote in the application, but it's just collecting the Slack links, and then, and using the activity in Slack to sort of rank them. And, it's the result, and this is a screenshot of the version that we run internally, is a page that is very heavily inspired by the look of Hacker News, and it just kind of gives you, like, hey, here's the top. You can see we've been sharing the RepliCon overview. We've been sharing the vendor portal. We've been sharing just different kind of assets and resources and links inside of our Slack channel, and these kind of end up getting populated up. So this is the UI that users get. There's also an admin side to this, so you can sort of see who's signed up, what the daily active users are, the monthly active users, and it just gives you a sense for what's happening behind the scenes. And so it's a fun little app. We're kind of keeping it under some development, right? We're going to accept open source contributions as well. But we also, I think maybe more importantly, are using it as the demo app. So some companies build, a game as a demo app. We wanted to build a little, internal tool that folks might use, and then let the community run it. So if you do go to SlackerNews.io, you can get a community license. This is that kind of a basic license. Put your email address in. Marc kind of should show you, but this is all connecting back into the replicated vendor portal and providing you the credentials you need. So we're using our own product to deliver this. Marc, do you want to kind of take the share over and kind of talk through architecture and things as well?
Sure.
Great.
We'll share now. Great. I'm going to just go full screen on it because I don't feel like clicking all those buttons.
Great.
Yeah, so the architecture, it's a pretty simple application. It's a Next.js 13 app that talks to a database, Postgres or SQLite, and has an ORM. Nothing that special. It obviously runs in Kubernetes, but it's not like a fully microservice application. It's just a single node application, and it, as you would probably expect, it requires like outbound access to Slack and to the replicated APIs in order to work right now. I just put this up there. It's not that important, but just to kind of show it's not an app that we built for replicated. It's just a traditional like common architecture for an application. The first thing that we did was, we took one of the functionalities that we've had in replicated forever, and we built a really good config page. So if you're deploying this using curl or COTS, you can specify through a UI-based, workflow that most of your applications have. Do you want us to deploy Postgres, or do you want to bring an RDS instance because you probably want to run Postgres? What is your TLS key insert in host names and all of this type of stuff? So the traditional config, and it's open source. So the idea is like, let's just put in best practices about the way that we see good use cases of making things optional and put it into here. Custom domains is a new feature that we've launched recently. We integrated custom domains into the application. So Replicated has several different custom domains, but the two that we've integrated are the registry and the proxy registry. Our primary way of distributing Slacker News is through a Helm install. So we took registry.replicated.com and we added a custom domain for chart.slackernews.io. And what that does is we're not pushing any images to Replicated, it's just the Helm chart. And what that does is it gives us a Helm install instructions that feels custom. It's not registry.replicated.com, which would be the default somebody would get, but instead they're going to see chart.slackernews.io. It's a domain that we picked, but it's only used to serve the Helm chart and pre-flight checks. The proxy registry is where we actually pull the images from. So Slacker News has images pushed to GHCR in a CI process. So we're proxying that through proxy.replicated.com. That way we don't have to distribute credentials or worry about rate limiting or anything like this in the installs. We added images.slackernews.io and pointed it to the proxy.replicated.com credentials and added GHCR in vendor portal. And what that does is you can see here in the bottom screenshot, when I now, as a customer, run Helm show values of the chart, the image repository gets automatically written to the custom host name that we have. So there's, again, when you talk to an end customer, we think this is the best practice. When you talk to an end customer, they have to go through security reviews and what the ports they're going to open or what domain names they're going to allow outbound access to on the firewall. You can have complete control over this. And so that's why we added it in here, is to show that feature off. Of course, we're using release channels. We're going to talk a little bit about community licenses, but release channels just allow us to have a different custom release cadence, and we're working through compatibility matrix to test before promotion. But yeah, if you sign up right now, you get you're in the stable channel, which is obviously the highest, the latest adoption. Grant showed the customer portal, and I'm going to switch and show this for a minute too. So this is a custom site that we have, and when I put in I sign up here, and I will put this in, and that will automatically generate a license. It uses the replicated vendor API to do that. As part of what we actually built, so this is like custom credentials, this would be the license ID, and it's a community license. If I look over here on the vendor portal for this account for Slacker News, you can see that this account was just created community license. So, and if I look, show the Helm install instructions, it's going to show the same credentials here. So what we're showing is a way that you can actually let customers self-provision trials. And as part of this, because it's a static site, we have an open source this is a Cloudflare worker is the way that we have it right now. But the idea is it's a little bit of JavaScript that actually shows how to like integrate this with a custom RBAC roll-in so that you can have the ability to have licenses created for a single application and then download those and return them back to the customer. I'll go back here. Pre-flights. The application has pre-flight checks in it. More than just pre-flight checks to say, is this the right version of Kubernetes, or does this have enough CPU and memory and nodes? But one of the use cases that we've always thought was really valuable in pre-flight checks was application level checks. Because Slacker News requires access to Slack in the Slack API in order to function, one of the things that we added was a custom HTTP collector that verifies that that the installation environment can actually reach out and talk to the Slack API, because if you can't, it's not going to be a very successful installation. And I'll run through a quick installation at the end, and I'll show that this pre-flight check working. An app update page. So Grant mentioned that we had like this looks really similar to the UI that Slacker News has, but when you distribute it with Helm, you're not getting the COTS admin console. So we're using the Helm SDK to deliver kind of a customized version of that that app update. So we know the history of what's been installed, the pending releases, we can show update install instructions and everything. And they're really going to be customized for those custom domains and for the Helm install method that was actually applied. Instance insights, Dex talked about this earlier. Just by nature of shipping the Helm chart through Replicated, we see instance insights. And so a new community license signs up on SlackerNews.io and does an installation, and we'll be able to see, that it took them, well, in this case, it took 21 minutes to install that instance and an hour 27 to install that license. We'll know the versions that they're running, how out of date they are, green and yellow or red to show whether the application's running in that environment or not. This works for online installs, for air gap installs. We're working on being able to deliver that through support bundles, but Instance Insights works, and we're using it to understand the success of the installations of Slacker News. And then custom telemetry, I'm going to go back one slide here and show. So, you can see in the activity, we show daily active users and monthly active users, and we're sending that as custom telemetry through the Helm SDK. So there's a different things that happen inside Slacker News that will trigger this, and will automatically, send how many monthly or daily users are in it. We're not doing anything with that data for enforcement or anything in this example, but it's just a way to show you, again, this is a reference implementation. So it's a way to show how you can send whatever data you want. Right now, we're sending 2. We'll probably continue to iterate on this and send more. License enforcement. That was just sending the daily active users and monthly active user counts, these 2 numbers here, back to the vendor portal, which we could then export into a CSV or put into a Looker dashboard or whatever. But we also do have a custom license field that says how many max users you can actually have in the application. We deliver it down as part of the installation through Helm, through COTS, or through curl. We'll show the value here. And then we can choose to verify the signature of that value and then do enforcement of it. And we can show how that works inside the sample application. And of course, Compatibility Matrix. We have Compatibility Matrix completely connected in. I'm going to stop the slides and actually show some of this. So Compatibility Matrix here, this is a run from 2 hours ago. And you can see all of the different versions that we actually test on. It failed on AKS, which is great to know. I thought about fixing it, but pure green CI wouldn't be as fun. So, this shows that what we're actually doing. If we actually hop over and look at the workflow, that we have in GitHub. This is the normal CI, then we build a chart. So you can see some patterns here that we're using to build a chart for CI. And then we have a hard-coded set of distributions that we actually test on, which right now this tries to be pretty much the minor versions of every distribution that Compatibility Matrix supports. Things like fail fast is important because we don't want to waste time if it starts to fail. But then we do the Helm install, and one of the things that we don't have in here yet, but we will do, is another matrix of different values with Postgres, without Postgres, different types of configurations that you can have. But then this runs a set of end-to-end tests using Playwright against every installation in that compatibility matrix. And what else is there? I can actually show the internal version that we're actually running. We can see the update page here, and the update page shows what installations versions I don't have installed. And if I show custom instructions, you can see here it is. This is really just designed, again, to be like a replacement for the COTS admin console when I'm not actually shipping the COTS admin console with it. I think that's kind of a walkthrough. The last thing to share is the repo is open source right now. Well, yeah, I was actually just on it. So we just made it public this morning. It's a repo. But if you want to, you can take a look and you can see our integrations of everything. I can actually do a quick installation of it too, using that license that we created earlier. So this license here is in the stable channel. So we'll just grab the Helm install instructions and we'll copy it. I have a EKS cluster that I can do a quick installation on. This is I created this cluster using Compatibility Matrix, just so I can have a quick one-node cluster. We'll do that. I can run pre-flight checks. I already have the pre-flight add-on installed, so I can just run kubectl pre-flight OCI chart that. And this will download and extract the pre-flight checks from that application that we've promoted. Run them, and there should just be a couple of them in here right now. But the one that's interesting is it verifies that from the cluster, I can actually talk to the Slack API. And then I can do the installation here. It is a Helm chart, so we have a lot of CLI flags, and they're documented in the documentation for SlackerNews. I can do the installation here of this application. And it's a pretty simple application, actually. Yeah. So you can see it's actually starting everything. See if it's done yet. No, that takes a minute. Wait for the SDK, and we can actually, we have the service type. When I installed it, I said the service type should be a load balancer. And so because it's on AWS, that created the ALB or the ELB. Amazon's DNS.
I'll just go back to the vendor portal real quick and just show that it's like it showed up as an instance for this. So there are instances online. There's the information about it. That's sort of that.
So we can.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can look at it, and it took 8 minutes from when I requested that community license for me to actually get the application up and running. And when I did the install, you see that it's on Kubernetes or on EKS 127. And then the app went from missing to unavailable to ready, which is a normal workflow for an application as it's kind of becoming ready.
Cool. Is it actually ready?
It is ready. The problem is this says name not resolved, and Amazon load balancers can take up 3-4 minutes for DNS to actually work. This will show SlackerNews in a minute. Unfortunately, this is just
one of the challenges, right? Is that that this app kind of requires you to have DNS set up because we need to talk back to that Slack API. So like, there's a little bit of, like, sometimes you could spin up an application and then kind of get access it through a port forward or something else. But in this case, we actually need DNS because that's how it talks to Slack API, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I could do a port forward, but that wouldn't actually be super effective. I think that's one of the value that we get out of like building a, like an actual real application. We like many applications need to talk to internal and external APIs. And so it like, kind of forces us to think through this problem some more. So this DNS started resolving here. I don't have a valid TLS cert on it right now. And it didn't work. And we can actually look, and collect the support bundle and go through troubleshooting here on this one. But yeah, that's the SlackerNews application.